Thank you for staying with us. Our second segment is a serious one, so please ensure that you stay tuned. It has to do with relationships. Relationships are a huge part of our lives, especially when it has to do with relationship between the man and the woman. And so we are talking about dating red flags. Red flags, what are those things you need to look out for? What are those things that a lot of people overlook, especially at the early stages of relationships? And joining us in the studio, I am not an expert in this. I think Pitu is not an expert. So we have someone here with it. Are you? Okay, sorry. Okay, well, we have an expert here with us in the studio. He is Miracle Ihoma. He is a counselor and relationship coach. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
So now that we are talking about red flags, especially when it has to do with dating, what are red flags?
Yeah, red flags are simply warning signs people should look out for in the person who they want to be with. So those are warning signs that tell you, okay, this person is not suitable or healthy for you to be in a relationship with.
Suitable or healthy.
Yes.
So why red flag? Why is it called a red flag? Are there,
Why not green flag?
why not green? Why not
Is there yellow flag? I saw something about yellow flag.
Well, I think it's because red indicates warning, danger. That's why red is used.
Okay, so
Yes.
why do you think some people, now decide on their own to overlook, these signs, these red signs?
They say love is blind, but marriage opens your eyes.
Okay.
So I think basically people overlook these things for several reasons. One could be because of the euphoria, the feelings that come with love, the feelings of love, right? Like I choose to call it. But except that those feelings are actually chemicals that are running
Is it going to
in your
define
nervous
love,
system.
this love you mentioned?
Yeah, so that's why I said feelings of love.
Okay.
Feelings of love is not the same thing as love.
Okay.
Because love is supposed to be a decision to make a commitment towards somebody else without expecting anything in return. Right? But then love produces feelings. But you can't define love as those feelings because even though you love, those feelings can be absent sometimes. So it doesn't mean that the day you don't feel those butterflies in your tummy, you don't no longer love the person. That's where a lot of young people get it wrong, because when they no longer have those feelings of love, they say, I no longer love him or I no longer love her. Except that there is nobody who has those feelings consistently every day, 24/7 of the day or the week and of the year, all through their lives. There will be days where you don't feel like it, but you still have a decision, a commitment towards the other person.
So love is not enough.
So
Love is not enough.
Love is not enough. For
well, there are two ways to look at that statement, because love, I would say love is not enough in its sense,
Yeah.
and in another sense it's enough.
Because from what you have said,
Yeah.
it means love is not enough.
Yeah. So I would say that love is maybe the most important ingredient in cooking the stew of a relationship, but not the only ingredient.
All right, so now recognizing what red flags are, especially in the early stages of the relationship, because it's not when you are into it that you now start saying, oh, the warning signs are for you before you enter, right? So now let's talk about what are these red flags. Let's call them by name. Some of these things, sometimes they are subtle, sometimes they are there. So let's talk about it.
Okay. Something else I didn't mention earlier about the reason why people still go ahead is the fact that sometimes people think these people will change. So, he's displaying these red flags right now, but he or she will change with time. Except that at the end of the day, they end up not changing. Yeah, because you are not the person who changes the other person, right? People make the personal decisions on whether or not to change, not because they quote unquote love you or not. So that's also another reason. And then to answer your question about these red flags, now there are a lot. There are, when I was trying to think about, things to say today, I was like, where do I even start from? There are so many red flags, right? Which is why at the end of the day, each person has to define what red flags are important to them. Yes. And the rule of the thumb is, what can I live with or what can't I live with? So the ones you can live with are the ones you are willing to tolerate. The ones you cannot live with are the ones you are choosing not to tolerate, because you will never change what you can tolerate. So But just for the purpose of this conversation,
In your experience with
yes,
people.
let's list a few of these red flags. Some red flags can be communication red flags, for instance. Red flags as to so there are people, for instance, who don't communicate very well. In fact, who don't communicate at all. So if you are in a relationship or you have somebody who you want to be in a relationship with who doesn't talk to you for days, can go days without talking to you, that's a red flag. In fact, I know a lot of the times when we talk about this, we focus only on guys. We tell ladies that if a guy doesn't talk to you, but it's vice versa. Because if a lady too is not talking to you for days and she doesn't care, it's a red flag. It means you're not really important to them, because we talk to people who are important to us. No matter, I tell people, nobody is that busy. That's the truth. No matter how busy you are the busiest person in the world. You will look for time to talk to the people that matter to you. Even if it might not be at the same rate every day, because your schedules will differ from day to day, but there is no how one whole day we go, you won't send a message, or something just to communicate with the other person. That's a red flag. There are people who are passive aggressive. They display passive aggression. Right? Sometimes it could be through verbal communication. Sometimes it could also be outright violence, right? Somebody slaps you and tells you it's a mistake. Well, they'll mistakenly kill you tomorrow. So that's a red flag, for instance, right? Somebody is always angry, has anger issues, right? And, they can't seem to control themselves when they are angry. And, when the anger subsides, they tell you, baby, I'm so sorry.
Buy you gifts.
Just forget, exactly, buy you a gift or something. That's a red flag, because anger can be disastrous. There are boundary red flags as well. When, for instance, people set certain boundaries and other people violate those boundaries. Your personal space, where somebody is very intrusive. They always want to check your phone, who you are talking to. Sometimes people think it's love, but it is possessiveness, right? It's actually a type of attachment style that we call anxious attachment style, because there are different attachment styles that people have. So that's an anxious attachment style. They always want to be around you. Sometimes you think, oh, this person loves this person so much. It can be deceptive. But when somebody doesn't want cut communication with you and your relatives, your friends, tells you should not have any other friend apart from them, those are red flags. They are caging you, and very soon, and that's how you see people be in a relationship. One person, kills the other person.
In fact, I was
and then you are wondering, doesn't this person have friends? Who were they communicating to? Is because the other party has systematically cut off, that person from other relationships that they have. Okay. Those are red flags.
Sorry, Adebimpe. So I wanted to follow up to that question. Should dating be in isolation?
It should never be in isolation.
Because you hear people say, I don't want you to, just let's keep it between us. I don't want others to know about it. It's not time for them to know yet. But again, you have, for girls who their parents don't want to see their daughters around boys. So now you are having a boyfriend, and you can't tell your mom and dad that you have a boyfriend.
Oh. Yeah, that shows that you might not be ready for dating yet.
Yes.
If you cannot tell your parents about your boyfriend or your girlfriend, it means that you might not be ready for dating. Yeah, because what's the purpose of dating?
Exactly.
Right? I tell people, what's the purpose of dating?
Yeah,
it's dating without a view in mind is like entering a vehicle without a destination. Just let's be going to where? So let us be going anywhere. We'll just be going. No. That's where you see a lot of things come in. That's where you see a lot of, vices and things like that. When people are dating without a purpose, they're just dating for fun. Okay. Dating was originated because of marriage. Right? Dating was a process that was enacted because, okay, fine. Instead of us to just be getting married without getting to know each other. For instance, how my parents got married, they didn't get to know each other in that sense. In fact, my mom was telling me that 2 weeks before their wedding, my dad passed her. He did not even know that he was the one that he was getting married to. So that's how it was. So dating was now, okay, fine, let's not have those kind of things. Let's have, situations where we can get to know each other, before we get married. That's why dating was created in the first place. So when we're just dating now for dating purposes without a view in mind, then abuse is definitely going to come in. It's just like saying, I just want to go to school because I like the idea of going to school. Yeah, and you don't have a view in mind.
have a
You don't have
goal.
a destination in mind. You're not saying, okay, I want to be a medical doctor. I want to be a lawyer. That's why you're going to school. You're not just going to school because you like school. Yeah, that's what dating is actually.
Okay, so having identified some of these red flags, so how should one now, address a red flag when it comes up?
Yes. So when you identify those red flags, and that's why, like I said, you need to first of all identify which red flags are red flags that you can tolerate. Because the truth of the matter is nobody's perfect. So we all have baggages. So what I tell people is you need to now determine or decide which baggage you are willing to carry and how weighty the baggage you want to carry. How many kg of that baggage you want to carry. Because we all have baggage. Right, so you want to say, okay, when it comes to this, and this, I can't tolerate it. When it comes to this, I might be able to manage, right? So that helps you to now identify the ones you can deal with and the ones you can't deal with, so that you know, once you see the ones you can't deal with, you know it's a no, and there's no need to go further, right? But also, if it's the ones you can deal with, you can have a conversation with the person and say, okay, these are the things that I've observed. What do you think about this? What can we do to really solve this issue? Even if with the ones you can't deal with, sometimes I tell people don't give up on other people yet until you have exhausted all the options. All the options include maybe seeing a counselor, and of course seeing visible results as a result of those measures that are taken to solve those problems. But what I don't advise is when somebody tells you I'm going to work on it, and then you are not seeing any change, to accompany that statement. So when people say I'm going to work on it, one of the things I would like to ask is how? How are you going to work on it? Because a lot of the times people just say that to give you hope, false hope. And then at the end of the day, that behavior doesn't change. So they say, I'm working on it. How are you working on it? Let's have 1, 2, 3 steps or ways you are working on this, visible ways we are working on this, and let's see progress before we can say, okay, yes, you are truly working on this.
Is it possible to have red flags after you're married? Because you're so
red flag is that Tom Purple flag.
Are there red flags, after marriage?
But the meaning of red flag is before
it's the warning
marriage.
sign.
Warning signs
They
before.
do not enter.
So once you have entered,
But
you're not living the reality of the red flag.
Okay, I'm not going to the red flag. Is it possible to now, discover some traits in your partner after marriage?
Of course, of course. As your partner is still getting to know him themselves, you will still get to know a lot more about them. But that's why I tell people that time is a factor in really deciphering who people are. Yeah, don't be in a rush sometimes. Just, take your time to know people. Because time sometimes is a revealer. Character is like a smoke, it cannot be hidden for a very long time.
Yeah.
So if he or she has certain things that they are dealing with or they need to deal with, it will show, with time. And also sometimes you need to also simulate certain situations to test how people react. Yes, before marriage. Because how they react will show you, okay, this is really how this person will take this. And that's why it's very important. And they say dating is a time for interview, not a time for intercourse. That's why you have to ask a lot of questions. Okay, if this happens, how would you react? What do you think about this? So what if this happens? What would be your take? And then you will see the person, this happens to one of my friends. My friend did this and did that. Are you serious? I cannot take that in this relationship. Or if somebody does that to me, I will kill him. They're revealing their mind already to you.
Tell who that person. So a question came in now. She's asking you to explain what passive aggression means.
Yes.
What is passive aggression?
So passive aggression is subtle aggression. So the person is not visibly aggressive, but sometimes their tonality, sometimes their use of words are aggressive. Yeah.
Can you give an example?
So an example is, let's say somebody comes and asks me, how are you? You're like, Why are you asking me such a question?
Let me give you one example.
That's passive aggression.
Let me give you an example. Okay, maybe you are on the phone with your partner, the man, and you say, okay, baby, my friend is calling me. Hold on, and I'll call you back. And then when you get back, and he says, never ever leave me hanging for your friend. After God, I'm next.
Okay.
I read that before. I saw that in the movie.
You saw it in the movie.
I saw that in the movie.
God,
After God, I am next. Never ever tell me to hold on for your friend.
That's a red flag.
That is
A very big one.
That is a red
A very big
I
one.
saw that in the movie.
Okay. So, do you think that our societal or cultural norms is somehow normalizing some red flags?
Can you give an example?
In our kind of African setting here, you don't question a man. The man is the Lord. And so even when you are saying that he has anger issues, he's the man, he's the Lord. You can't talk, you can't question him.
Yeah. So yes, in that sense, some of our cultural values are actually encouraging some of those red flags. And really and truly, I think common sense should prevail over even what culture.
Sense.
Because a lot of the times, common sense is what we should just apply. Because if you see that somebody is displaying aggression, somebody has anger issues, whether or not, in fact, that's even why you should, because what you want in a man is servant leadership. Yeah, in marriage, it's because the leader is a servant, right? That's what it should be. The leader is not necessarily the Lord. Because I tell people, the man is the head. What are the things you have in a head? One of the things you have in a head is a brain. So the man has to be able to think. Yeah, because he's the head. One of the things you have in the head are the eyes. It means he must have vision. He must know where he's going. One of the things in the head is our ears. It means he must be able to listen. So any man who doesn't listen is not a real leader. It's not a head of the family, really. Another thing in the head is the mouth. He must be able to communicate effectively and speak positively into the life of his family. One of the things on the head is the nose. You must be able to perceive, right? And
sensitive.
intuitively know what to do, what is wrong, and things like that. So if a man doesn't have this characteristics, it's not really the head.
Okay, just before we go, what advice would you like to give someone struggling in a toxic relationship, but due to emotional attachment, they can't leave?
Yeah, I would say that person needs to involve a third party ASAP as soon as possible. Because when you are in that position, you most likely will not be able to break out on your own. Even no matter how many times you promise yourself, you will break as many promises as you give to yourself. Because each time you want to break out, that emotional attachment will keep holding you back. In fact, the voice of your partner will keep bringing you. And I've seen it play out many times where people say, I'm going to leave this relationship. And they end up going back to the relationship because of that emotional attachment. It's what is called the Stockholm syndrome, right? Where people are attached to their abusers, emotionally attached to this very person that abuses them, right? We even see that at the national level, in many situations. So I think that person needs to involve a third party who is wiser, more knowledgeable, experienced, maybe even a counselor to help them, give them emotional fortitude, give them a perspective that would help them leave that relationship, especially when they have tried to, better the state of the relationship and it's not working.
I'm sorry, but before you go, you couldn't ask any question if any family could be a red flag.
A family.
Yes, please.
Okay.
True. Yes.
The family you're marrying into, is that what?
Yeah, the family you're marrying into, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes, be a red flag.
Yes, it could be.
Especially because of
It could
our
be because
society.
in our society, in-laws
They'll
matter.
tell you you're not marrying the man.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Even though I think that might be a secondary red flag, right? In the sense that you want to check, in that sense, you want to check how that person is able to handle that situation of their family, interference of their family in your relationship. For instance, as a man is supposed to protect the wife, even from his own family. So you want to check how effective he is able to protect you as a woman from the influences of his own family and vice versa. When you see that he's able to handle that properly, in spite of whatever pressure you're getting, you know, it's something that
safe.
you can still go ahead with. But if you see that this man, you know, is a mommy's boy, a family boy that they throw around and push around, then that can be a red flag.
Right.
Abimbola?
Yeah, I'm
answered
fine.
your question.
I just wanted that clarification.
Clarification.
Thank you very much, Miracle
Iheoma.
Ihoma,
Yes,
counselor and relationship coach, for discussing, you know, dating red flag. And you pointed out, understanding and recognizing these red flags is crucial for building a healthy relationship. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
We'll go on a short break now. When we come back, the conversation continues.